This is kind of exciting. A new study shows that the newest shingles vaccine could actually slow the onset of dementia. So our medical expert, Dr. Payal Kohli, is here, and you're talking about just the newest version, as in how many years?
Well, so it's interesting. There's two versions. One was the live vaccine that we used a few years ago, and the new version is the inactivated vaccine that we're using recently. So this study is actually based off of the live vaccine, but we also have data based on this new inactivated vaccine that it could reduce the risk of dementia.
Wow. And so, how did you study that? I mean, how did they study that? Look at a whole group of older people over an extended period of time?
Yeah, so this happened in Wales, and they had a sort of a public health initiative where everyone under the age of 80 basically got a shingles vaccine, and over the age of 80 didn't. So what they did is they compared people who were close in age, the ones who got it versus the ones who didn't, because you can imagine we can't study this in a randomized fashion, because that's unethical, because the shingles vaccine protects people, so we can't withhold something that protects people. So we just sort of saw what people did, and adjusting for their other characteristics, you saw that the people that got the shingles vaccine had a 20% lower risk of dementia of any type as they got older.
Do you know why this is happening? Why would a shingles vaccine affect, the brain?
Yeah, so if you think about what shingles is, it's caused by the varicella zoster virus. This is the same virus that causes chicken pox. So if we got chicken pox as kids, it lives inside our body forever. And it sits and it lurks and it waits for your immune system to get weak as you get older, or something else happens, you get stressed, you have a bad day, and then your immune system turns down and the virus wakes up and causes shingles. So that's how shingles works. When you give somebody the vaccine, you actually prevent reactivation of the virus, which is thought to be one of the mechanisms by which that inflammation in the brain could be causing dementia. Possibly also that shingles vaccine virus activating could be causing gunk in the brain to accumulate that is linked to Alzheimer's, protein accumulation that could cause Alzheimer's.
Wow. So often we hear about those proteins in the brain and Alzheimer's and dementia and everything like that. So who should be getting the shingles vaccine? I know it's also one of those vaccines, what comes in 2 doses?
2 doses,
okay.
And they're given 2 to 6 months apart. Every single person over the age of 50 who's had chickenpox as a child. Now, our children will not have to deal with shingles because they're being vaccinated against the chickenpox as kids. So that virus never gets in, starts to cause trouble. But for most adults, middle-aged adults, even those in their 30s, have you had chickenpox?
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
Yeah, so it's living inside you. So as soon as you turn 50, and we're using 50 as sort of a surrogate marker, but for anyone who has a suppressed immune system, they have HIV, they have cancer, where the virus could wake up, it's really important to protect yourself, because this is one of the few things that we think you can do to reduce your risk of developing dementia. And we all know that as we get older, this is one of our biggest fears, is to lose our brain,
100%.
Is to lose ourselves.
So do we wait till we're 50? For those of us in our 40s, like who have had chickenpox, should we be getting this now?
So if you're healthy, you can wait till 50, because that's usually when, but go ahead and get both of those 2 doses, because then it's really going to pay off in your 70s and 80s to reduce your risk of dementia. If you have any chronic problems that turn off your immune system or your immunosuppressants, and you've had the chickenpox, it might be time to get it now and talk to your doctor about that.
Plus, anybody I've ever known or talked about getting the shingles, worst thing ever. So get the vaccine.
Terrible experience, not just when you get it, but it can cause something called post-herpetic neuralgia, where it permanently sort of scars and damages your nerves so they stay in the on position, the pain nerves. So long after the rash is gone, you can have really, really severe pain. So this is not something you want to mess with. If you get it in your eye, you can have blindness and such. So you want to be really careful. Now, what's interesting is that it worked for the varicella vaccine, but other sorts of viruses like influenza that don't get into the brain, vaccinating against those didn't protect against dementia. So we think it's the fact that this virus gets into our brain and our nervous system is why it's so protective.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks, Dr. Kohli. You gave us some good news here. Good news today. All right. You can always find more from Dr. Kohli at 9news.com/Dr. Kohli.